Hello! Today I'm going to be showing you how to bulk import Shopify product variants by generating combinations of options using the Matrixify app. So let's get started. We're first going to be starting off in Excel, as this is where we're going to be building our file to generate those options. So I'm first going to start off by zooming in a little bit and also naming our sheet tab in the file products. So let's go ahead and start by doing that. And once you have your sheet or tab named product, we can then go ahead and start naming our column headers. So I'm going to be generating my variant option combinations for a completely new product. It is also possible to generate variant option combinations for existing products. However, in my example, I will be creating a brand new product. So those are the columns I'm going to be using today. So we're going to start off with product title. So the column header would be title. Then we are going to add a description for our product. So that column header would be body HTML. And then for our option columns, so I'm going to add option 1 name, option 1 value, option 2 name, option 2 value, and then also a third option, which would be option 3 name and option 3 value. I then would also like to add a SKU to these variants and also a price, so variant price as well. So what I have created here is a file that will create a product with a description, variant options, a SKU, and price. And then of course we do need to add that main column that will allow us to generate those variant option combinations, and that column would be variant generate from options. And this is the column that will allow us to generate those variant option combinations. It's also very important to add that you can also add other columns to this product import file as well. That would be completely up to you and whatever you require for the products that you're importing. I will also leave a link in the description of this video to our products documentation, which shows all of the different columns and what their value should be for product import. However, yes, in my case, as this is an example, I'm just going to be sticking with these columns. So let's get started filling them in. Let's start off with product title. Product title in my case is going to be new Matrixify product. In your case, the product title would be whatever you would like to name your product, but in my case, for this example, it's going to be new Matrixify product. Then adding a body HTML, which is the product description. I'm just going to add this is a description. You can add the value here in plain text or with HTML tags. It's completely up to you. Matrixify will do any basic formatting if you do add the description in plain text. However, if you want slightly more nuanced formatting for your product description, then you would need to add HTML tags. But in my case, very, very simply, I'm just going to add this is a description. And then moving on to the option columns. And this is where we're going to be generating our option combinations. So to do so, we need to start off with an option name. Now, I want to be adding 3 options, and my 3 options are going to be called size, color, and material. Now, these are going to stay the same. What we're going to be generating combinations of are the option values. So option 1 value, option 2 value, and option 3 value. So for sizes, I'm going to be adding 3 sizes. So we're going to do small, and then separated by a semicolon, we're going to add our next option value, which is going to be medium, so M. And then again, separating it with a semicolon, we're going to be adding L, large. Then for color, we want to be adding 4 colors. So the 4 colors that I'm going to add as my option 2 value are red, blue and separated by a semicolon, we then have green. And then again, adding another option value for option 2 value, I'm going to be adding yellow. And finally, moving on to our third option of value, I'm going to be adding the values cotton and satin. So it's very, very important to separate your option values by a semicolon when generating them. So as you can see, as I've set up here, I've separated my option values with a semicolon. Then moving on to variant SKU. Here I'm going to be adding the SKU 1, 2, 3. For variant price, I'm going to be adding the price 20. Now, an important thing to note here is that while Matrixify will generate the option value combinations for you, the app will only assign the same SKU and the same price to each. It's not possible to separate, for example, the SKU with a semicolon as well. You'll have to assign the variant SKU and the variant price, or whatever the variant column you have in your import file, to each generated value combination separately, and I'll show you exactly how that works once we import the file itself. And then moving on to the very last, very important column for this case, that would be variant generate from options, and we're going to be setting that to true. And if all looks good, and as it should, we can then go ahead and save our file. You can save the file as anything you would like. In my case, I'm going to save the file as product import. So go ahead and save. And once saved, we can head to the Matrixify app to import our file. Here I am in the Matrixify app, and this is where we're going to be importing our file that we have just created and saved. So to do so, press Add File. Select the file that we would like to import, which in my case again is product import. Now we can either drag and drop it into the app or just press open, whichever works best for you. You'll then see the file uploading and analyzing. And once uploaded and analyzed, you should then be able to see that the app has correctly identified that the file that we're importing is product. And also in my case, the file only contains one product, so the total is 1 here. For you, that would be however many products your file contains. You'll then also be able to see that the app has correctly identified all columns in our file. Now, you can import this file directly and it will work. However, in my case, to show you how the option value combinations are generated, I will first be importing as a dry run. And you can also do the same as well to make sure all of the data will import exactly as you would like it to when you do import with the dry run option not selected. Basically, what the dry run option does is the dry run option allows the app to convert the data and test the data against the app before actually importing it into your Shopify store. And that's what we're going to be doing now. So if we click on the options drop down and select the dry run option, that's all that we need to change for options. All the other options can stay the same and as they are. That will work exactly as we need it to. And if all looks good, we can then go ahead and press import. You'll then see that the dry run import has now finished. At this step, nothing has yet imported into your store. The app has only generated the option value combinations for now. So to see what exactly the app has done and how that would work, we can go ahead and download the import results file. So to do so, click the import results file button and then head to the downloaded import results file. And here I am in the import results file that we just downloaded. So as you can see, the app has generated our option value combinations for us. And you can see so in our option column, so every single possible option combination that could have been generated has now been generated. You'll also be able to see, as mentioned, that the SKU and the price that we added for that one row have been also added to all rows. Now you can leave this as is, or you can give each variant its own SKU and own variant price. That's completely up to you. But other than that, this is how the file would look once the variant option value combinations have been generated. So if all looks good and as you would like it to, we can head back to the Matrixify app and import the file without the dry run option selected. Here I am back in the Matrixify app. Now it's completely up to you which file you now import. If you did make changes to the import results file, which could either mean modifying the other variant columns or any of the changes that you may have made, you can then import this file. However, as I didn't make any changes to the import results file, I'm just going to go import the file that we originally imported with the dry run option selected again. However, this time I'm not going to check the dry run option. I'm going to leave that unchecked because this time I want the product to import directly into my Shopify store. So if all looks good, we can then go ahead and press import. You'll see the file importing. And once completed, you'll see that a new product has been successfully created, or maybe in your case, the product has been updated. And if we head to our product in our Shopify admin and take a look at this new product, we'll be able to see the variant option combinations that have been generated here as well in our Shopify admin. And that really would be it. We also offer a great written tutorial on this topic as well for how to bulk import Shopify product variants by generating combinations of options, and I will leave a link in the description of this video to this tutorial as well if you prefer following a written tutorial rather than a video tutorial. And if you have any queries, questions or concerns at all, please do not hesitate to let us know. We will be more than happy to help. And you can reach us via Slack, where we have MyBar, our AI assistant, which will help you instantly. And if needed, our support team will also jump in to help. You can also reach us via email at support@matrixify.app. And we also offer an in-app chat with MyBar, which can be found in the Matrixify app itself, or also on our website here. And the way that you get to MyBar is by clicking on the speech bubble at the bottom of the page, and you'll be able to see MyBar already willing to help you with whatever questions or queries you may have. And that really would be it from me today. That is how you can bulk import Shopify product variants by generating combinations of options using the Matrixify app.